God was very much something that I'd put on a shelf and called on him when I needed him. Um, I grew up in a church that was kind of very structured, and we went on Christmas and Easter, and it was okay to skip on weekends, and I think the structure was really just one that for me God was kind of this distant thing.
I was raised Methodist and very similar to Kory as far as it being a priority on holidays, but not really any other Sunday. And when it was, our family was one that it was just a kind of a chore to do, and our our faith was not talked about at home. Probably 6 months after we did move here, I had just asked a neighbor if there was a church in the community that she knew about that would be good for families, and she had recommended LowCountry. One of the first times we decided to go, we saw a video of a couple who were sharing their just relationship with the Lord and the relationship between them and kind of around our age. And I just remember just really being inspired by their story.
And just the worship component was kind of the draw until I heard Jeff preach, and Jeff's messages really started resonating with me, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I just knew that I kind of liked the feel, and obviously moving to the area with a young family, we're kind of looking for people that were in our lane, and everywhere you looked there were kids running around, and so it just felt very, very much like home for us.
I had applied for a ministry type position with a ministry that I had grown up with, knowing about. And one of the questions on the application was, describe your personal relationship with Jesus. And I just kind of stared at the question blank. I don't know how to answer that question. And so when I put it in the Google search bar of what does that mean, understanding that it's really simple of spending time with somebody, getting to know somebody, connecting with a community of people who know him as well. And that really, I think, started my journey of really understanding who Jesus was and who Jesus could be for me. And for me, it was really about seeking. He created this hunger in me to want to know more about him, and I'm putting all this effort, right? I'm trying to really find my way in this, and I'm looking at him and just really questioning, like, what? You see so good, like you see so much good and so much joy and peace in this. Why do you want this? Why aren't you investing the time that I am? Why aren't you in the Word every day? And that probably went on for about 6 months to where I realized, and the Lord kind of showed me, I can't change him. I can't control his journey. I can only control my journey, my obedience with the Lord, and giving the Lord the opportunity to change my heart. And where the Lord was giving me grace, I wasn't giving him grace. And so I started to let off the gas a little bit, and really obviously moving the focus from him to myself. And when that started to happen, I feel like that's when he started to want to dive in a little bit more, and wanting to connect and understand what that looked like.
The moment that approach changed, as she showed me grace, it was this feeling of, wow, how do I feel that too? Because what my identity was very worldly and very flesh driven. This moment where she was chasing and seeking God, I felt like, where was I in that? Because we got married for a reason.
I think when we got married, and I think it's very common if you don't know the Lord, is to look at your spouse as someone who is going to meet a need for you or fill something that you're missing or meet you where you're not capable of performing in some capacity. You look at someone like your spouse as your savior, someone who's going to give you what you need that you're missing. And that's what we were missing, and that is we were looking at each other as that one who was going to meet us where we need it, but at the end of the day, our flesh is going to disappoint.
Unfortunately, my perspective was this worldly reason where if she didn't have a need for me anymore, that was going to be a bad ending. And so that was kind of the calling for me to understand, all right, what's my walk with Christ going to be?
The viewpoint now is obviously Jesus is our Savior, and that He's the only one that can meet us where we need to be. And so what our role is for each other is how do we serve each other to help us become closer to the Lord, and through that our marriage is stronger. Intentionality is such an important part of growing that relationship and taking away the pride of what's convenient for me, what's routine for me, to how can we better connect it, as a couple.
But just having the community, throwing my hands up in the air and basically telling God, like, yes, I need community, and yes, I need to be obedient to what you're calling me to do. And it's not career, it's not money, it's not reputation, it's not identity and all of those things. It's plugging in with a community of believers, and being obedient to opening up His Word and understanding who He is in order to have that relationship. And so yeah, I had to remove a lot of pride in order to even just say yes to that.